Good evening. I'm your host for this evening, Keliopolis, and welcome to Cput News at 8 p.m. Our stories for tonight are as follows. Is there such a thing as good pedophiles? Followed by the impacts of COVID on learning, along with the impacts of COVID on small businesses, and ending off on a happy note with organizations giving back to the homeless people. Pedophilia is an ongoing struggle throughout the world. More and more each day does statistics rise, and so does the question as what should be done with the perpetrators. According to studies, pedophiles are born with the attraction towards pre-pubertal children, and it is claimed that they cannot help for their behavior. However, there are some people who beg to differ. It may come as a shock to many of you, but there are people, or pedophiles should I rather say, who claims that they are the good ones, as they do not act on their tendencies like the so-called bad pedophiles. Along with this, they ask that they are not classified with the bad pedophiles. Here's how some of the locals view pedophiles and what should be done with them.
I feel like there is no difference between a good or a bad pedophile, as studies has proven that they are mentally unstable. So at the end of the day, they are still having a thought of doing something bad. Yes, they're not doing it, but the thought is all that counts.
If I were in charge of the justice system of South Africa with regards to pedophiles and sexual offenders, I would minimum have a life sentence without the chance of parole. Violent, gender-based violence and sexual crimes, I would even go so far as to say bring back capital punishment. No mercy for sexual offenders. No name and shame. No tax spent on them. Capital punishment. That's my take.
The President Cyril Ramaphosa on his COVID-19 social relief and economic measures announcement on the 21st of April said 40 billion has been set aside for income support payments for workers whose employers are unable to pay their wage. This fund will support and it will help the companies in distress during this time, as some companies have made less during this time. Over to Zetu.
President Cyril Ramaphosa, on his announcement about the lockdown, said that companies that need help financially should apply for a relief fund so that it can be able to pay their employees during this time. So I went to Grow Learning Company in Atlantis. This company makes toys, any kind of toys. I wanted to know and I asked the manager if they have applied for the relief fund. I also asked if they made any loss during this time, and the fund has helped them to manage.
Like this company is getting all its support from the government. So all whatever we are doing here is all up to government. So like 80% of our work is all coming from the government. So we already, like before we have applied for that, the government, like they've asked us before, and then we submit all the papers and we did all what we were supposed to do. Everything is 100% in line. It's 100% in position. 100%. That's why we even managed to stretch our hands to all our workers. Even some of them, even if they were not even fully employed to our company, but we all managed to pick them up wherever they were, to try to help them to get something to survive during that time.
And now I will ask the employees if they got paid during this time, as the manager has said that the relief fund helped them to pay their employees. And I also want to know if the salary they got was enough for them during the this time?
We managed to get our groceries for our families, and yeah, we got pay for 1 week and that's all, but not enough.
The coronavirus pandemic has brought many schools around the world to a standstill. The 2020 academic year moved online and students have had to social distance. The students have missed months of face-to-face teaching. The time parents spend sitting and assisting them with homework has increased. This has brought a number of challenges for many households. Over to Maegan.
With COVID-19 disrupting the 2020 academic year, many schools have had to close down and students stayed home to social distance. South Africa went into a national lockdown in March, which resulted in students missing close to 6 months of classroom learning when the academic year proceeded to online learning. This brought about many challenges for students as the workload done at home increased and not many students had access to internet. With most of the family being home, the environment to study for students became challenging with unforeseen disruptions. Grade 9 pupil Nafia Mohammed was asked what challenges she faced while doing her schooling from home.
Working from home, it's been tough because I was frustrated because it seems like I had to teach myself all the work and I just got even more frustrated because I couldn't understand the way they were sending the work over and I couldn't send my assignments over because I didn't know what to do and just overall stressed me out.
School slowly started to reopen, allowing certain grades to attend 1 day of the week. Nafia responded on how she has been coping with only attending school for 1 day.
Since I only go to school once a week and that's every Thursday, each lesson, every teacher, because all the lessons only 45 minutes, they try to give you as much information as they can in that 45 minutes. So they give so much information so that by the time you come to the next class, you basically forgot all of that information because they're just flooding you with information on top of information.
While the country gets ready to move on to level 1 of the national lockdown, many schools will start to officially reopen and operate as they have done before. Students will still, however, need to continue to wear masks and remain 1.5 meters apart within the classroom. For Cput News, Maegan-Leigh Jacobs, Cape Town.
The Service Dining Room is a non-governmental organization in the Cape Town CBD who feeds over 400 homeless people daily. During the lockdown, the kitchen saw an increasing number of homeless people, regardless of the fact that so many of them were put into shelters. But there have been several donations from all over the city. To tell you more about it, here's Sheridan.
The dining service room is a place that feeds over 400 homeless people in the CBD each day. The lockdown has seen an increase in the amount of people who come for a meal, as well as several more donations.
The kitchen inside the dining service room, where all of the meals are prepared.
They can know when they come and collect. We've got a GBH, we've got the powerhouse, and we've got church house. So what we're doing, these cooked meals are for today. The uncooked meals is for them up until Tuesday. They can cook their meals for the weekend up until Tuesday. Then they come and collect again as cooked meals. The same goes for those other groups.
Manager at the dining service room says homeless people receive a cup of water with each meal.
They do have their own toilet facilities to use.
Although this is only a kitchen, the dining service room has male and female bathrooms for anyone in need.
Okay.
Leslie has been on the streets for 27 years. He says he would like to move into an old age home, but so far the social workers have not been able to help him. He's a well-known face at the dining service room, where he comes for a meal every day.
Regardless of the challenges faced here, workers at the dining room service say it is a fulfilling job knowing someone has been fed and can survive through another day.
This has been Kelly Apollos, Cput News, Cape Town.
After a sunny Thursday, the city is waking up to grey skies. We have this pretty big cold front which is already driving rain-bearing clouds into these parts of the country. The cold front hits these areas around mid-morning, introducing pretty wet conditions throughout the day for Cape Town and surrounding areas. Then over into the central areas, we are looking at storm clouds drifting from Namibia and Botswana into the northern, central and southeastern areas, where we are going to be seeing isolated thunder showers for a good part of your Friday. Now, we have a warning in place for high fire danger conditions across the bulk of South Africa. Where you see that shade of red, you will need to be very careful around any open fires. Severe thunderstorms are also expected over the southeastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, this Friday, you can expect up to 30% chance of thunder showers across much of the Free State, KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. The thunder showers could also spill into southwestern Gauteng. And we're expecting widespread rains along the southwest coastline, including around Cape Town. A 60% chance of rain as we go further into the interior of the Western Cape, and a 30% chance where you see the lighter shades of blue. The rain could also spill into Port Elizabeth as we head towards the evening hours. Now, this morning we are starting off with freezing temperatures around Sutherland. Minimums once again below 10 degrees for much of the interior. Warmer over the northeastern sections. Johannesburg 14, 15 for Pretoria. Rain could also spill into Port Elizabeth as we head towards the evening hours. Now, this morning we are starting off with freezing temperatures around Sutherland. Minimums once again below 10 degrees for much of the interior. Warmer over the northeastern sections. Johannesburg 14, 15 for Pretoria, and 13 apiece around Polokwane as well as Mbombela. Much warmer for the KZN coastal areas, with minimums in the lower 20s for Richards Bay and Durban. 15 for East London. Cape Town is rather chilly this morning, starting at 9 degrees. The same for George. Now, this afternoon it's going to be sizzling hot for much of KwaZulu-Natal. Thermometers pushing into the mid and upper 30s. Richards Bay 35, 37 for Pietermaritzburg as well as Ladysmith. We stay with highs in the upper 20s and lower 30s for the northeastern areas, but it will be pretty hot for Lephalale and Bahikeng, with temperatures in the mid-30s. Much cooler for the western areas. Cape Town just making it to 17 this afternoon. A similar high is forecast for Sutherland. Now, looking ahead to your weekend, we are going to stay with a fairly wet weather in Cape Town. The wet weather spreads into the Eastern Cape and also into KwaZulu-Natal, cooling things down for those parts of the country. To stay hot for the northeastern areas. And we end the weekend with wet weather persisting around Cape Town, parts of the Eastern Cape, and it will be pretty wet in KwaZulu-Natal with cold temperatures. Durban managing a high of just 15. That's all we have time for now. Back to you.